Could we start with what your job is at RPC and how you came to do this?
Yeah, so I'm the Director of People and Talent Development, otherwise known as the HR Director, but I work 4 days a week with 3 days in the office, 1 day working from home, and then Friday tends to be a non-working day, but sometimes it isn't.
And is that sort of pattern something that you had to have in order to take on the role?
It is, yeah. So the moment that I came back from my second maternity leave, it became quite clear that it just wasn't workable. The only way that I could get some flexibility was if I was a consultant. Yeah. So I did that for a while. I eventually ended up working as a consultant at RPC, and the role of HR director, as it was then, came up. The only sort of vision of an HR director that I'd ever seen was full-time, full-on, and I just didn't think that I could do that. But luckily for me, I happened to be working for somebody that just was happy to kind of think out of the box and said, why don't you give it a go and try and do it your way?
And I think I'm right in saying that you've replicated a similar sort of thing for members of your team as well.
I have.
You all
yes.
cover each other?
I have, and we do cover each other, yeah. So I've recently hired, well actually I've recently hired 2 senior people. One of them is in the office 2 days a week, and then she does 2 mornings a week as well. But she's really flexible, and that is the key to it, yeah. I think. So yeah. I just need to know that people are there if I need them. So I check their calendar, and if it says they're working, they're working. If it says they're not working, I work out whether or not I can deal with that and go elsewhere, or I just call them. And we've got an arrangement that, you know, RPC gives quite a lot to them and they give a lot back. So
is that the same with the partners or your colleagues? I mean, are they accepting of the fact that, you know, sometimes you're not around but you're doing your job?
I think they are actually. Which is interesting, because one of the biggest issues when I went into this role, I thought that everybody would constantly be going, where is she? Why isn't she at her desk? Yeah. So yes, I might be working from home, or I might be not working, but available if I'm needed. So actually that barrier was in my head. I don't think that it is an issue with partners. People
feel that, you know, it can be sometimes career limiting if you're not around as much.
One of the things that we scored really highly on in a recent engagement survey that we ran internally was the fact that people didn't see it as career limiting to work flexibly. I guess they see people like me in senior roles.
Because you do hear a lot, don't you? You know, firms still requiring presenteeism and yeah. visibility, and it's a barrier to some firms being able to introduce these roles.
It is, and it's a very real problem, because like many things, it just takes a few people to not do it properly for the whole thing to break down. I think if you're a flexible worker, you have to be almost more contactable.
And across other business services areas, other examples of people doing, you know, flexible working patterns as well?
We do have a number of people who work part-time, and we have some people who work full-time and do a regular working from home day. For me, the holy grail is to get somebody to operate as a partner on a part-time basis. At the moment, it's still a 100% kind of commitment.
So if you were giving advice to a firm, what would you say?
I think you have to be open-minded and want to try and do things differently. And I say to associates, if you don't see someone doing it the way that you want to do it, don't let that stop you. Come and talk to someone like me and say, I think I could do it in this way because. Yeah. When you kind of live and breathe the chargeable hour, that is tricky, and I'm not going to pretend that we've got the solution to that. Yeah. But we're working at it constantly. The other advice I would give is that it's not easy. It's not, oh, I'll just work, I don't know, 3 days a week and put my feet up the rest of the time. If you want a career, then you have to put a lot into it, just as a full-time person would. And I think that's key.
Fantastic, thank you.